Okay, thanks for joining everybody. My name is Jennifer Cassenson and I'm with Buildxact, and we are honored to have you here today to learn about a new program that we're kicking off now. We have three just amazing speakers to share the news with you today, starting off with Lucas Toffoli, who's the principal of RMI's carbon-free building practice. And then we're going to hear from Adam Hawes, who's the Home Energy Rebates Implementation Advisor, a new role at the Department of Energy. And then wrapping up with Steve Yates, who's our Buildxact's Executive Vice President for Merchant and Industry Partners. He's going to run through some information about the program and then do a demo of how it works. So thank you very much for joining us today, and please put your questions in the chat, but we will open up after Steve's demo for questions as well. But over to you, Lucas, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for the introduction, Jennifer, and thanks so much for having me. Appreciate everyone's time today. I know everyone is busy these days. So hopefully you can see my screen here. Let me know if not, and go ahead and get started. So as Jennifer said, I'm Lucas Toffoli. I'm with RMI and formerly Rocky Mountain Institute and the Advanced Building Construction Collaborative. And I'm going to be talking a bit about the need and opportunity that kind of motivates this partnership, and then kind of teeing up the partnership itself. And then Adam will say a few words about the kind of current state of IRA implementation from DOE's perspective, and then we'll hand it over to Steve to walk you through a demo so you can see kind of the more interesting stuff. So our work stems from this hypothesis, this advanced building construction hypothesis, that sort of posits that by modernizing the construction industry and trying to capture a more holistic definition of value around construction and construction projects, including retrofits, we can accelerate the deployment of decarbonization strategies and get kind of a whole host of benefits from those, including the speed and scale of building decarbonization that's necessary to meet our very important and aggressive climate objectives, as well as some other key endpoints that deliver value to homeowners and also to the economy. The collaborative, the ABC collaborative, which launched with the support of the Department of Energy, works in these several core activity areas. And today I'm going to talk about an exciting piece of thought leadership and market guidance that we have coming out shortly, which is part of the basis for this partnership, and how that kind of feeds into this broader market scaling support. And we hope that this partnership will help to scale this advanced retrofit market. So in terms of thought leadership, we've put out a range of research and analysis and guidance reports, including one that is coming soon, currently under review with DOE, which is our residential market guidance report. And that I'm going to dig into a little bit more, but that gets into really the specific opportunity, especially on the retrofit side, for what kinds of energy efficiency and decarbonization retrofits are needed for different kinds of buildings in the US residential building stock. So digging into that a little more, as part of the analysis behind this report, we tested a range of upgrade packages, and we tested those against basically a model of the entire US residential building stock, which is more than 100 million dwelling units. We tested these 4 levels that started with kind of a equipment electrification focus all the way to a retrofit that kind of brings the whole building up to like a passive house level of performance. And this table shows kind of a brief summary of that. Obviously the details, exact performance specs vary a bit by climate zone, but the short of it is that we modeled these 4 sort of representative packages against the entire building stock to get an idea of what's kind of a minimum level of intervention that's needed for different kinds of buildings. And that guidance then is going to be part of the basis, again, for this partnership that then Buildxact is going to take that and help folks in industry to apply that guidance. So our logic for assigning these performance levels had to do with basically making it easier for both the buildings and the grid to decarbonize by managing load so that you can electrify the buildings without having to have, huge mechanical equipment or huge panel upgrades, and also by managing the amount of additional load that's put on the electrical grid. And what the results showed us was that there is a massive need for whole building decarbonization retrofits that include envelope work across the US. And we are happy to say that rebates and other incentives in the IRA can help with that. And again, Adam will say a few words about that in a few minutes. So we see here on the right side of this, basically that around 3/5 of the residential building stock, that's about 75 million dwelling units, are going to need some level of envelope work, whether that's kind of this light conventional envelope work or, all the way up to bringing them to a passive house level of performance. So that is a huge opportunity. And then one thing to keep in mind as you're talking or thinking about or talking to your customers is that resilience is one of those pieces of additional value that is increasingly important to a lot of consumers out there, especially with extreme weather and storms, wildfires, and things like that. And so for markets or customers where there's an interest in resilience, that would actually push more of these projects towards the higher end of performance on this graphic and in the performance packages that we analyzed. Looking at these results in a slightly different way, we see that there is really a need for whole building retrofits across the country. Of course, that's going to vary based on the climate. In places like California, you see a lot of gray in that pie chart. That means a lot of buildings are going to be okay with just a electrification equipment focused retrofit. Whereas if you look at the Midwest and the Northeast, and the Mid-Atlantic, you see a lot more of that blue and teal and orange, which is those envelope inclusive retrofit packages that really, benefit from having home builder and remodeler type contractors involved in the project to deliver those kind of whole building solutions. So again, that's those blue and teal and orange slices of the pie that include that envelope piece of the puzzle. And these are the top typologies by number. So we kind of segmented the US building, residential building stock by single family, detached, attached, small multifamily, large multifamily, and then by heating fuel, vintage, and a few other criteria, and obviously the climate zone. And based on those, we have this output that kind of shows us the largest chunks of kind of similar looking buildings to really show, what are different slices of the market that can be addressed by home builders and remodelers. And what we found is that the top 10 typologies that need some kind of an envelope upgrade are actually all small typology homes that are really a particularly good opportunity for small and medium builders who have that kind of local relationship and who have those capabilities and that experience to work on those smaller homes. So what we see here is, market opportunity of many millions of homes that are going to need this kind of whole building retrofit. And Buildxact is developing through this partnership a way to help builders do that more efficiently and more quickly and in a way that kind of helps you grow your businesses. So as part of that, we're working with Pacific Northwest National Lab and Buildxact to put together this very simple kind of upgrade decision tool as a starting point. And this takes the outputs from that analysis that we did. You can enter basic information about a given building, and it will output kind of an initial recommendation on the minimum package that should be implemented for that building. And then from there, what we are working on with Buildxact is to kind of integrate that into Buildxact's platform, so that once you have that recommendation, you can kind of go over to the Buildxact platform, and through this partnership, it'll really support the practical application of this guidance. So you get sort of the results from this research and analysis that we did, and then that gets pulled into Buildxact, where the platform is going to be pre-populated with a lot of information and materials, so that you can quickly pull together things like bills of materials, quantities, bills of materials, estimates, and then from that get into procurement and ordering what you need for a project. And the idea here is tying back to advanced building construction, which is all about scale and streamlining and modernizing the way in which we interact with and upgrade our built environment. This kind of a digital platform is really enabling of that, and really aligned with that mission. So I won't go into too much detail here, because Steve is going to give you a demo of what that looks like within the Buildxact platform. But I wanted to just kind of tee up the conversation here, show you this exciting, or we think it's exciting, research that we've done that really highlights a massive opportunity for small and medium home builders and remodelers to help upgrade our building stock, to make business for themselves, and an opportunity to work with companies like Buildxact, who are trying to make that easier, faster, and more scalable. So with that, I have one or two more slides just as a shameless plug, and then I will hand it over to Adam to say a few words. And then from there, we will get you over to Steve for the demo. So quick plug here, the ABC Collaborative. This is actually just a partial list of our collaborators and supporters, but we're really excited to bring all these folks together, and all these relationships have informed our work, and highlighted the importance of partnerships like the one that we have with Buildxact. If you have any questions about the collaborative, or want to talk more about work that you may be doing that's related to advanced building construction, just feel free to get in touch. With that, I will hand it over to Adam Haas. Thanks so much, Jennifer, and over to you, Adam.
Great. Thank you, Lucas. And hi, everybody. Happy to be here. I am now on the home energy rebates team at DOE, but for the last several years, I was working extremely closely with Lucas to grow our advanced building construction work for DOE and launch the ABC Collaborative. And so the reports that he referenced and all of the other materials that he referenced are very near and dear to me as well. I think the pieces that I wanted to emphasize is that in addition to the grid analysis, and in addition to knowing what types of measures are best suited for homes to get to zero carbon aligned buildings, DOE now also has resources that can be utilized by homeowners, by contractors, and by other actors within the residential retrofit field to be able to actually finance or pay for those measures. So among other things, those are tax credits that are available now. Those tax credits flow through the IRS, but DOE has information on those tax credits. It includes tax credits for heat pump water heaters, variety of envelope measures. The program that I work on is an $8.8 billion program for home energy rebates. And those rebates are going to go specifically to upgrade American homes. There's one half of the rebates that is for homes that can save at least 20% of their energy. And so it is a rebate that will be available if a contractor provides an energy model, or alternatively provides a measured approach for a home after installing the set of measures. And so the measures that Lucas highlighted, some of them would get 20%, some of them would probably save over 35%. In that case, you would get a higher rebate amount. But those things are going to be pretty flexible, I think, with the packages that you'll see highlighted within the Buildxact tool, and that are included in the ABC resources that Lucas referenced. The second rebate is more prescriptive. It's for a specific set of 7 different measures. It includes heat pump water heaters, induction stoves, heat pump dryers, wiring upgrades, circuit breaker upgrades, and air, ceiling, and insulation. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to all of the details on that. But for those rebates, they are only for low to moderate income households, and the household can use up to $14,000 for a variety of those different 7 measures that I referenced. I think that these funding opportunities, the rebates and the tax credits, along with additional existing state resources, provide a lot of funding and financing to help make these packages possible. And so I hope that all contractors can take advantage of them. I believe that Buildxact, among many tools, can help contractors to think about how those rebates can match the specific measures, the specific packages, and hopefully make it a lot easier to deliver these in a way that really benefits homeowners, residents of multifamily. So I think this is mostly focused on single family, but help the folks who need to upgrade their homes and make that work as quick and effective as possible from the contractor perspective. So I won't go on. I will drop a link to the home energy rebates if you want to find more information. The main thing for timing that contractors should be aware of is that DOE will be releasing the full program requirements and guidance for the rebates in mid-summer, likely around the beginning of July. Then states will have to apply to DOE to get their plans approved. Those plans will be approved, hopefully starting in the fall to winter period. So it's going to be a different time for each state. Unfortunately, there's not going to be a universal date where all of the rebates are available. So you'll have to not only keep track of DOE, but look at the state energy office for your particular state where you're doing business. We're going to set up a website where all of that information is available, but it will be probably a rolling process of states setting up their rebate programs with slightly different designs for the households that they want to target. But again, our website will have information on that. You can also contact your state energy office locally if you want more information on the specific program and the ideas that they are working through. So with that, I will hand it to Steve to do the demo, and I'll put the link to more program information here in the chat.
Thank you, Adam, and thank you, Lucas. Let me just share my screen here. A number of people on the call may not be familiar with Buildxact, so I thought I would take just a few moments to describe Buildxact to the group before we get into the workflow and actually see how powerful this integration that we've been discussing is. Buildxact believes that we have a tool that could really help, as Lucas referenced, with the deployment and adoption of the standards that are leading us to decarbonisation and zero carbon alignment. And for builders and contractors, remodelers listening in on this call, the one thing I would like you to just think about as we go through this presentation and the demonstration is that you're not in this alone, that there are tremendous resources being brought to the table by stakeholders who want you to be successful in this space and to deliver opportunities for you to grow your business and to grow foundations for your business inside of the opportunity that's been created by all of those stakeholders that Lucas showed on the screen. So let's begin. Buildxact. Buildxact is a company that started in 2011. Our mission is really singular, and that is to make the residential construction industry as simple and as efficient and as successful as it possibly can. How does that relate to the work that we're doing with Lucas and Adam? Well, guidelines and standards are complex things. To be able to deploy those guidelines and standards into a market, Buildxact believes we can provide tools that reduce the friction to getting those standards adopted in the marketplace. And we'll go through and discuss for a little bit why we think that's the case. We, at our base, are a what we call a lead to cash construction management solution for builders and remodelers. from the bill of quantities, the original pre-planning, all the way through to managing your financials, the tools that are available to a builder remodeler inside of the Buildxact platform. But it's not just about you. We recognize that you don't work in isolation, and that there are many stakeholders that you have to interact with in order to be able to fulfill a basic need, which is to put a fit-for-purpose product into the built environment with decarbonization goals. So the builder uses Buildxact as we described through the total project, but we also give you the opportunity to collaborate with your homeowner as they're dreaming and as they're selecting elements of their project to bring into their home. We have the ability for you to be able to collaborate with the sales team that you work with in your vertical supply chain, who are able to give you visibility on inventory and product related to the decarbonization goals, which of course is supported by manufacturers as well. So these are all the stakeholders that we bring together in the platform to help you as a builder and a remodeler to adopt and deploy the standards that Lucas described. So here's a simple graphic of how the platform is able to do that. So looking at those stakeholders across the platform here, the Department of Energy, through the Advanced Building Construction Collaborative, is able to promote and promise demand for decarbonisation and set aspirational values in the marketplace that will drive interest in this activity for you as you look at new market opportunities. At the same time, we're able to take the market guidance report, which is quite a complex report and a lot of information, and distill it down through the supply chain into some specifications that are compliant and readily integrated into a simple solution that can be used to work with your homeowner on project fulfillment that will result in a greater level of adoption of the standards. So conceptually, that's how we'll work. As I go through the product demonstration, just encourage you to think about the collaborative power that we've brought together for you here. Now, the journey will start at the retrofit decision tool that Lucas referenced. This is a really fun, effective tool. It allows you to put in site situation information. So where is the site located? What type of building it is, when it was built, the size of the building, and then some basic information about the primary content within the building. A very easy to use graphic interface that will be used by a builder, remodeler, or homeowner. And once that information is inputted, then you can submit and it will return a result. Now, I'll go back up to the top, and I think it's really important. If you have a building or remodeling business, it's quite possible that you will be working on multiple projects, multiple locations in potentially multiple climate zones. In that case, the report or the inputs that you put into this tool that I imagine you'll come back to quite regularly will return a different result. In this case, this is a Hamilton, Ohio inputs, and it's a 4A climate zone with the resulting set of guidelines or package recommendations. If we go back to the retrofit tool, again, we can put in information for a different location and it will return a different result. So, for example, I think if I select this next one, this is now returned a result for a California location. The climate zone is 3C, and the guidelines and standards are slightly different. And they're reflecting the values that Lucas showed you in summary in his presentation. So let's begin the process. I think I'll just quickly go through and actually do this because it'll show you how the platforms are integrating with each other. We're going to select a single family home built between 1940 and 79. We'll go through and identify the characteristics that we spoke of. And once we get to that, we submit that information and it will return those characteristics for us. Now, what we have here is a set of guidelines. The task for us now is how to take these guidelines into a project level bill of materials and bill of quantities that we can use to engage with our homeowner or asset owner. So we just quickly link into Buildxact, and login will be necessary. So we'll go ahead and do that quickly now. This should pre-fill quite automatically for us, which it did. And now we're entering into the Buildxact platform, and it is going to return me to an assembly, a building assembly that correlates exactly with the climate zone and standards that were produced. So in this case, we are in climate zone 4 through 7. And we can just look at this for a moment and see a bill of materials, basically a project list of the components that would be required in order to bring that structure as described by the retrofit decision tool into zero carbon alignment. Now that we have that direct link, we can go ahead and, we go ahead and simply choose to select an estimate, and we'll create that estimate just quickly, and just standard information that we can come back to later with Buildxact about how to create an estimate. And that's going to stand up my estimate module within Buildxact, and you'll see that bill of materials that meets the standards defined by the market guidance report are now inside Buildxact, ready for me to work on. There's a couple of important things that we can do here. I think we go back to the beginning and start putting in some information about our particular project. I'm going to switch to one that I've prepared ahead of this demonstration. So we've got our estimate details of the work location, our client details, and importantly here, we have the ability to be able to stand up a client portal that will provide additional information that would go to a homeowner at this very early stage. I'm just at the bill of materials because I want to collaborate and engage with them. In this case, I've already connected the homeowner. I'm going to share that information to the homeowner. It goes across. The homeowner will receive an email, and they'll see a portal from me, the builder, that very much like what's on the screen, and it shows a new document, a new item has been shared. I could go to my documents. I can see inside of here, here's all the background guidance report information that you've automatically been able to populate into your client portal, and you're now engaged in a collaborative relationship with your client. So let's go back to estimate details and work on the costings that we downloaded from the retrofit decision tool. Not only have we connected you to the homeowner, but Buildxact also connects you to your suppliers. So we have a performance characteristic here for a heat pump. It's a simple matter for me to simply search into the catalog section, which will stand up apologies while I go ahead and do this. Will actually stand up information from your supply chain into the assembly that you're working on. And you can go through and repeat that process for each of the items in the assembly. If you know the quantities, in this case, it would be one heat pump, of course, you can simply complete that process and begin adding values into your project. To really use the power of Buildxact, there are some elements of the project, for example, there are some elements of the project where you would want to do a quantity takeoff. So my recommendation to you at that point is that you go and here I've got an example of where I've already gone through each of those performance characteristics and assigned a supplier value, or I've actually identified the procurement source for that product. And you'll see that that work has already been completed using that simple tool that I've shown you. But what I also want to do is be able to calculate my quantities. So I'm able to actually save off portions of this assembly so that I can begin breaking it down into wall components and do my quantities. So for example, we could save off our wall installations, and we can then calculate quantities using our takeoff tool inside of Buildxact, which simply goes to a plan version, and we can begin doing graphic takeoffs. In the case of this particular plan, you'll see I've already taken off the plan areas, and they sit inside of the project. If, for example, now with appliances, of course, I don't need quantities, so I've got my appliance suite in the project. If I am looking at something like low E-storm windows, for example, that I would want to work with, it's a very simple matter for me, because I don't have fixed pricing, to send a quote request to my supplier to get a firm price on the windows per the specifications that I've provided to them. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the guidance report that we've preloaded in. I'm going to attach the plans, and I'm going to attach the takeoffs that I prepared, type a simple introductory message, and I'm going to then send that request for quote to my preferred supplier. They'll receive that request for quote digitally using Buildxact to be able to respond back, and we'll come back to that shortly. Assuming that I have the request for quote back and I have all of my quantities and my bill of materials in, I have a project value here, and then it's a matter for me now to go then select this project, and it's going to open up a quote format for me, and you'll see that I've got some pre-prepared templates that has project value, by line item, terms and conditions, and any other information that I would like to send off to my homeowner. I share that information. Now, because I have a client portal connection with this homeowner, I'm able to share this. And this estimate will now go across to the client portal with the ABC guidelines, with the plans, with the takeoffs, with the bill of quantities and the bill of materials, in order for the homeowner to accept and award that project back to me. So if we go back to the view of that project, I've selected the wrong one. Assuming that the homeowner has completed, I can save these items. Oh, it's not letting me do that because I haven't completed something here. It's catching me here. I'm sorry. I apologize for this. I was going too fast and I did not keep track of the item that I've not saved. Okay, once the project has been awarded back, I will go to a separate job. I then have a digitally accepted quote. I can then use the values that were created in the estimate to go ahead and issue a set of purchase orders against the values that have been created. Well, we'll just put a numeric value in for the purchase order. We select the items associated with it and send the purchase order off to the supplier, in this case, Rise. Once that purchase order is delivered, it will come back in from the supplier. It'll be added into our actual costings in our job. So if I would go back and repeat the process just one time, and then I'll open up for questions. I'm going to log out so that the retrofit decision tool will take us through the process again. We select the package. Go to Buildxact. I'm sorry, I've been crashing the system by moving too quickly to get through the demo. Would take us to the catalog items that are loaded in the system from the PNNL. We can select the item, create the estimate from the item, and begin the process on a new project. Okay, Jennifer, I think I would open up for questions. I apologize for that unsave. I was not able to find the actual item that was causing the problem, which prevented me from completing that process. But I think I've given people a basic understanding of how the system integrates from the retrofit decision tool into Buildxact and through that workflow to the client portal and the manufacturer.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much, Steve. And I do see a question here from Tom. He says, am I able to load takeoffs from other programs or an Excel sheet?
Yes, you can. And maybe I could answer some of these questions. I know maybe I could answer some of the questions by just demonstrating that as well.
Sure.
So in an estimate form, it was Tom. What I would do is simply, I'm going to use templates that I've created here, Tom. It doesn't matter which template, we can start in here. I'm just putting some lead generation characteristics in here for the moment. The process you'll recognize going through the estimates. And that creates basically an estimate using a template. The second way that we can do it is import an item from an Excel spreadsheet. It's just the Pendo guide there. 230412B. We'll repeat the process now. Instead of using the template within the system, we're going to do exactly that same process, and it will bring up a tool that will allow me to go ahead and drag and drop an estimate item in, this is not going to format correctly, but it would allow us to drag and drop an item in here. We go through a simple mapping process, and those estimate values are provided in the system.
Thank you, Steve. And we invite other questions from anyone in the audience for either Lucas or Steve. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to present today. And we will, in terms of Steve, the RISE partnership, I don't know if you mentioned that, if you did the coupon code, but
yeah. So let's go back and just to finish. Just to finish off, you will notice when I was taking the performance characteristics and searching into a catalog that RISE for Builders is integrated within Buildxact. RISE is a e-commerce provider of building materials, and they provide a vast majority of the items that are provided within the guidelines and standards that you see within the retrofit decision tool. And to celebrate the soft launch of this program, RISE are offering a coupon code, BUILDS10, that you can use to access a discount from RISE through the initial period of the program.
Steve, I'm seeing a question from Casey Murphy on 25C tax credits. Since 25C tax credits have different limits for different measure types, and some allow for labor to be included and some do not, are you able to create a report or invoice that a homeowner can provide to their accountant during tax time? So I will let you confirm or deny this, Steve, but my understanding is that from Buildxact, you can essentially output an invoice or a report that has the items and the level of detail that you designate. And so then, that could be arranged to have whatever line items and whatever detail is needed for the accountant. Does that sound right to you, Steve?
That's correct. In fact, you'll see here on screen now that Buildxact does have integrations with the QuickBooks, with the major accounting programs. That allows to be able to input material. And when you're setting up line items within the project, you can differentiate between material only, labor only, or material and labor, and categorize it accordingly. Yes.
excellent. Well, thank you guys again for your presentation. Thank you, everybody who attended, and please use the tool. I just put the link in the chat, so you can go click on the retrofit tool and go through the process that Steve just demonstrated. Thanks again for attending, and we'll hope to see you using this and passing it along to the industry at large. Thanks again.
Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Jennifer.